How can God be glorified in situations where it's difficult to see that He is good? Let me ask that again. How can God be glorified in situations where it's difficult to see that He is good and doing good? We've been looking at the story of Noah's Ark these past couple of weeks, and if I'm being honest, this story is a hard one for me to comprehend. You may be in the same boat. Get it? Same boat, Noah's boat. Guys, can't make this stuff up. But it's true. This is a tough one. Did this story literally happen, or was it figuratively? Why did God annihilate so many people? Why was Noah the lucky one, even though he had sin too? Is God the same God throughout all of this? These are the questions I still wrestle with today. Where is the good God everyone talks about in this bizarre story of loss and suffering, confusion, rainbows and floods and doves and sin? When things are chaotic in my life, I find it hard to see God. Sometimes it's my own sin that has distanced me from Him, because that's what sin does, right? Sin keeps us from experiencing freedom in who God is. So when we sin, we distance ourselves from Him. It's hard to see God when loss happens. I lost a student of mine 6 years ago that I still argue with God about because I'm selfish and I wanted more time with her. It was hard to see God when my special needs brother was mistreated by his care provider. Maybe by now you have a situation in mind where you're like, yeah, man, it's hard to see God right now. When I was in junior high, I moved to Switzerland. It's a little country in Europe that borders Germany, France, Austria, and Italy. And because of that, it's a super diverse country with rich culture and history from all over the world. It is still today my favorite place on this earth. Switzerland changed my life. I was 12 when I moved there, and it captured my heart in ways that I can't describe. It taught me independence because I had to ride local trains and buses and ferries to school, and I would meet my friends in the main city of Zurich at just literally 12 years old. It taught me culture and diversity, how to love people who were different than me, because my friend group consisted of representing 10 different countries that we were all from. It taught me how to experience adventure. It strengthened relationships between my family. It taught me how to make friends and to respect others, but I remember missing my youth group. Switzerland didn't have great churches to be involved in. I remember my faith was almost non-existent in junior high. I believed in God, I always have, but I don't remember my relationship with God. I think I journaled a lot, and that's how I talked to God that way, but I wasn't actively living for Him. When I was in junior high, I didn't see much of God. But now, when I look back on this life-changing experience, God was moving and shaping me into the person He created me to be, even though I didn't see Him during it. Even though I wasn't actively pursuing Him, I look back and see He was actively pursuing me because of how He shaped me during that time to make me into the person I am today. But in the midst of it, I didn't see God because I had to get to the other side of it to actually see what was happening. What if this is how we view the story of Noah's Ark? We can't find Him in what we are reading. We're like, yeah, okay, I see you, God. You're doing all this stuff and talking to Noah and wiping out the planet, but I don't know how I view you. I don't see you. I don't see how you are good in this story. And maybe we haven't yet brought to light the redemption and mercy we see in the story and how it points to Jesus and how it points to the character of God. Because I think if we can find it and focus on it, then I think we will see God in a redemptive and hopeful way. So here we are, Genesis chapter 7 and 8. We have come to the actual flood. Noah is boarding the ark with his family and all the animals, and the door shuts behind them. And boom, God floods the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. But Noah doesn't just hop off the ark after that. The earth is flooded, so now they wait for the water to go down. Genesis 8:13 from the Message version says, "In the 601st year of Noah's life, on the first day of the first month, the flood had dried up. Noah opened the hatch of the ship and saw dry ground. By the 27th day of the second month, the earth was completely dry. God spoke to Noah, "Leave the ship, you and your wife and your sons' wives, and take all the animals with you, the whole menagerie of birds and mammals and crawling creatures, all that brimming prodigy of life, so they can reproduce and flourish on the earth." Noah disembarked with his sons and wife and his sons' wives. Then all the animals, crawling creatures, birds, every creature of the face of the earth left the ship family by family. Noah built an altar to God. He selected clean animals and birds from every species and offered them as burnt offerings on the altar. God smelled the sweet fragrance and thought to himself, "I'll never again curse the ground because of people. I know they have this bent toward evil from an early age, but I'll never again kill off everything living as I've just done. For as long as earth lasts, planting and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, dry and day and night will never stop." Where is the goodness of God? God remained faithful to Noah and his family by keeping them safe. They survived. It seems all hope is lost when God causes this flood. But have you ever thought that if this was such a hopeless story, there would be no survivors? That Noah and his family, who were still sinners, would not exist? And if no one survived the flood, there would be no Jesus. Have you thought about that? I'm not gonna lie, if I was God and I had decided I was fed up with humanity because we were a bunch of sinners who have no respect or love for one another as well as God, I would not want to do it all over again. Do you get what I'm saying? God saved humanity and showed this incredible and beautiful mercy because of what he asked of Noah and his family. The flood and the story of Noah's Ark literally points to Jesus. A wooden ark delivered Noah and his family to safety and to hope and to a new life. And the wooden cross saves us from a spiritual death. The wooden cross that carried a descendant of Noah that saved all of humanity. God showed mercy. God's character shines through in this story when we get to the other side of it. God wanted to give another chance to humanity, even though they and we didn't deserve it. He knew there was going to be sin in the world still. If we keep reading on about Noah, we learn about their sin and wrongdoings and all of that, but God knew that was coming, and still he said, "Guys, let's do it again. I still care about humanity. I still want to give you another chance because just wait for what's coming. I'm going to send my son to die for you so that you don't have to die to your sin again." His love is far greater than the disappointment of our sin. His mercy for humanity has the ability to make us new, to wake up tomorrow knowing that, yeah, God, there are still things I don't understand, but also I know I mess up all the time, and yet you still decide to love and believe in me and humanity so that we can come back to you and can start new. When we see through the pain and the struggle and the confusion, or just simply the absence of God, like for me in junior high, the other side looks just a little more clear than when we first began. But we sometimes don't know it until we endure it. Jesus was glorified throughout the story of Noah's Ark. He is the man that Adam chose not to be because of his choice to sin, and Jesus is the man that Noah could never be because he was born into sin, like we all are. I think when we look at Noah's Ark and see it through to the very end, we can see redemption. We can see Jesus. We can see God's love for humanity and not giving up on us, and God's faithfulness and promises. This is who God is. He's a God of mercy that no matter how absent he feels sometimes, he's always working and shaping and growing who you are. Where can God be glorified in your life that you haven't thought about yet? Where has he been absent that you now see he never left you? What are you sitting in right now that you can ask God to give you hope and mercy so that you can truly see him? Because of Jesus and what he did, we have to remember God in the end is a good God. If he is anything but good, then we wouldn't have this unending grace and mercy that we can find in Jesus. In short, we wouldn't have Jesus, and he would have given up on us a long time ago. You just have to decide whether or not he is good enough for you to follow like Noah did, even when it doesn't make sense to you, even when you don't have all the answers or the clarity, even when you can't see the ending, do you have faith that he will carry you through to the end? You have to decide if you're going to trust God through the uncertainty.